thoughts or whatever. And one of the prayers that I had was, okay, Lord, I was like lacking examples, which doesn't normally happen to me. Like I'm usually the one that like I can come up with examples. But for some reason, as I'm studying and as I'm, getting into this, I was seriously not coming up with examples. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I was drawing blanks. And so I would pray, and then I'd like, okay, God, I'm like kind of stressing out about it, but trying, not to. And I could feel, this little anxiousness come, starting to rise up in my chest, and then I'm like, no, God, you're faithful. You're faithful. I trust you. I asked you. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Um, and so this has been the pattern through the week. No kidding. Through the week, this has been my pattern. And I just have to remind myself, no, you're faithful. I trust you. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I don't know, like maybe people are going to come up with the examples. I don't know. Maybe something's going to come up on the spot. Maybe somebody's going to say something and it's going to bring a recollection to me. I don't know. But I'll just trust you, God. I'll just trust you. And I'll be honest, if this would have happened 5-10 years ago, it would have been a mess the entire week. Like a mess of just stressed out, freaking out, thinking about it night and day and night, like completely working myself up over it. I mean, that's where I would have been. But I've grown, and this is where, sometimes you don't realize you've grown until you're in a situation and you're like, hey, I would have been a mess. Like I know I would have been a complete mess a few years ago if this would have happened. And look at me. I'm staying pretty calm. I trust you, Lord. I mean, so it's like, hey, I've grown. Thank you, Jesus. That's awesome. It's nice when you see your growth, right? Because we don't always see it. For me anyways, people, my friends, my loved ones tend to point it out in me before I see it in myself. I mean, that's just the truth. Sometimes I don't recognize it in myself. I recognize it in others all the time. Like, oh my gosh, you were like making leaps and bounds. You were like coming such a long way. And, but sometimes it's harder to recognize it within ourselves. And it was cool. I have to say it was cool to recognize it and be like, okay, yes, all right. I'm getting, yes. Oh, awesome. That's great. Um, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Um, does anybody else have an example right now? Ooh, sorry. There's Patty, sorry. Sorry. I got that from her. Oh, well, hey, Patty. I'm thinking about you. Sorry. Um, so, anyways, all right. I'm still going to come back to you guys, so don't give up. Okay. Oh, no worries. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You're so right. Yeah. And it actually started when, as my children were leaving the house. And motherhood, man, I'm telling you, motherhood. And and it has been a stretching season. You know, it's been a few years. Oh Lord, yes, yeah, yes, yes, yeah. But oh man, yeah. I won't stay here because it's off topic, but um, Nancy, a few of my uh, older friends, not that I'm old, but older friends who our kids are leaving, they're marrying and everything. Like, we have had conversations where uh, we just are floored at how much more difficult it is to mother adults than it is to mother them as children, because it is a complete letting go. And I mean, talk about trusting God. There, you have no choice but to trust God. You have to surrender. You have no choice. I mean, you do have a choice, and you could drive your kids away. You know, I mean, but it has been one of the most difficult things that I've ever experienced in my life, and to grow in that, has been a stretching for sure. Yeah. So, but I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. It's hard. Sometimes harder than others, and then I get to a place where I'm like, okay, I've got this now, and then so it's okay. I'm getting better and growing, and it's a journey. It's all a journey. So, all right, what time is it? Wowza. It's only 7:18. Darn diggity. We're gonna need to, yes. Ah! Oh my gosh. So you did it. You took the leap. You, yeah, you had no choice. Oh my God. Well, you did it. How did you feel after you did it? That's fun. Well, you did. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know there have been things that I've been like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. And then there have been things that I'm like, don't want to do that again. I'm good. Tried it once, and that's all I needed. Or I didn't even really need it, but had no choice, like, you said. Um, Yeah, this past weekend, shot a gun. I had never shot a gun, and I was scared to. Like, I was scared to, but my husband was really, really, really wanting me to. And then I felt within myself that I don't have a desire. There's not a desire there, but there is a longing to feel comfortable. Because if I, you know, some people, everybody has different opinions when it comes to guns, and so be it. If we're going to have a gun in our home, I want to feel comfortable in inform. Like, what good is it going to be to have a gun in the house if I'm not even going to know how to use it or feel comfortable in any way or whatever, you know what I mean? And hopefully that's never even going to be an issue, but so there wasn't this desire to do it, but there was this need to, I've got to be comfortable, because there's just too much power, to not be comfortable, or to, be ridiculous with it or whatever, So anyways, I was absolutely scared, to pull the trigger. And then everybody talks to you about kickback, and I'm like, I don't want to be in pain. I don't want it to hurt. And I was just scared. I was scared to pull that trigger, but I didn't have to, I guess. But we had gone all the way out to Wyoming for this. So I'm like, well, I guess I do. But anyways, and so I did it, and I think I did it. I don't know, 4 or 5 times. Not like when I did it, I did like maybe 5 rounds, and then took a break. And so when I say 4 to 5 times, I mean 4 to 5 turns. Thank you. Thinking that it was gonna get easier, thinking that it was gonna, it didn't. It didn't get easier. It didn't get more comfortable. I think I'm gonna have to do it several times in order to maybe start to feel a little comfortable. But each and every time I was so terrified. I was so scared, and I mean, I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I did it. And I'm determined, I'm absolutely determined to at least get comfortable, so that I just don't want to have something in my house that has the ability, so much power behind it, and me not feel comfortable holding it. I just think that's dangerous. I could see that. I could feel, I felt like it was dangerous for me to be holding this thing when I didn't feel comfortable, So anyways, so, and that's, it's good for us to push ourselves, in areas, that terrify us sometimes, Sometimes it's a godly fear, though. Follow the voice of the Holy Spirit. I always say that. Follow the voice of the Holy Spirit. That's off subject. Okay, so we're going to need to prolong this, because I am like on the 3rd point. So that's okay. We'll pray afterwards if we have some time. We'll just take some time and pray. That's always a good thing. All right, so the third thing that we're going to discuss is comfort. I found this fascinating because, of course, when I think of comfort, I think of the normal term of comfort, consolation, but I thought it was fascinating that she speaks of a couple of other definitions in here. So comfort, and I love what she says here, because I agree with it. Comfort is the 3rd attribute in the nature of a mother, and the trait which is attributed to mothers probably more than any other. So, which I find that to be so true. I mean, in most cases, of course, there's always an exception to the rule, but in most cases, our kids usually come to us, you know, when they're needing to be comforted. They go to it tends to be going to dad or going to a male for strength, you know, but when it comes to comfort, it tends to be more so coming to mom for comfort. And so I think that's just tends to be the norm. Yes. This is Own Your Assignment. It's by Bethany Hicks. And we're on chapter 8, assisting the vision. I'm trying to look at that without my glasses. Assisting the vision. So, all right. So I love this because, so while the term comfort is synonymous for consolation, there are a few other definitions listed in the Greek dictionary for the word that is translated as comfort. In our text, excuse me, which I would like to, which I'm going to share with you, but she shared in the book. So when we're told that prophecy is to strengthen, encourage, and comfort, the word for comfort here in the original Greek is paramatheia or paramathea, which is defined not just as consolation, but also to persuade and to stimulate. And I just found that fascinating. I don't know why, but I just thought, I often think of persuasion when I was thinking, well, what's the difference between persuading and encouraging? Like, aren't they kind of the same? And the differences, uh-oh, I'm calling Daniel Rivera. Sorry, Daniel Rivera. I didn't mean to call you. Oh, Lord. Okay, so the difference between encourage and persuade. All right. Ooh, geez, Louise. Okay, so encourage is to mentally support, to motivate, give courage, hope, to give courage and hope. But to persuade is to successfully convince someone to agree to something or to accept something, usually through reasoning and verbal influence. So I thought that was really kind of cool to just, because that is definitely something that we do with our kids. Sometimes we just try to persuade them. Sometimes being successful, sometimes not being successful. But I remember this time, and I don't know, this is a silly example, but it stood out to me. I just remember a time when my daughter was in, I think she was in I want to say she was in 5th grade. 5th or 6th grade. And I had picked her up from school, and PetSmart was right around the corner from her school. And so I wish that I could remember exactly. I wanted her to run in to ask a question. Just run in and ask a question. And she was absolutely terrified. She did not want to go in. And I'm like, I don't want to park. I don't want to get out. I want, I'm going to pull up. You just get out really quick, run in, and ask the question, and then come back. Nothing to it. So I thought, no. She was dead set she was not going to do it. Like she was terrified of the thought of doing it, and I didn't understand. I absolutely didn't understand. I have to admit that when my kids were young, poor things, I've learned a lot since then. I mean, I've learned a lot, but when they were young, I didn't get it. I didn't understand how somebody could come out of me and be so incredibly different. I just didn't understand. And I didn't understand how her mind worked. I didn't get it. Like I couldn't comprehend the way that she thought and the way that she perceived things and the way that she took in things, just anything. It was completely different to me, and I just didn't get it. And I had a long way to go to learn. I had a lot to learn. So I wasn't understanding. Let's just say that. I was not understanding, and I was like, I'm threatening your life here. Get out of the car and just go do it, because this is ridiculous. I don't understand why you're making a big deal out of this. You're like, ask a question. That's all I'm asking you to do, is ask a question and bring the information back to me. It was just not. But apparently to her, it was worth dying for, because she wasn't going to do it. No. I mean, she just was, no, and when she made up her mind that it was going to be no, it didn't matter how many spankings I threatened. She would take the spankings. She wasn't going to do it. So anyways, I've come a long way since then. But she suffered for it, I think. Poor thing. I just didn't understand her. Anyways, I said all that to say I tried everything to persuade her, and it didn't work. It did not work. I was very unsuccessful at persuading her. But I didn't do it in a great way either. I wasn't, I didn't know how to persuade encouragingly, and, it was more threatening then. But anyways, so to persuade and to stimulate, I think that's so fascinating. And I was going to ask if anybody had any recollection of a time that was the case, that you remember being persuaded or stimulated, in an area that really caused, growth, or it didn't even have to be this huge thing. I mean, that was, or if you remember a time where you did that, for somebody else. And I want you to be thinking about that while I look over my notes. Dun, dun, dun. We already talked about that because I jumped ahead. So I do have this other section that I want to read because it was so good. But I'll go ahead and read it and give you guys an opportunity to think for another minute. So this is, has everybody seen Black Panther in here, or is there somebody that hasn't maybe seen Black Panther, the movie? So this has to do with the movie Black Panther. Okay, so at a particular moment in the worldwide blockbuster movie, The Black Panther, the Lord spoke so strongly to me through the storyline that it hit my spirit like a hammer. The story is set around a young African prince who is called to lead his people, his powerful nature. Sorry, let's try that again. Who is called to lead his powerful nation after his father, the king, is killed. However, the nation's law had a provision where any noble prince from another tribe could come and challenge the right to the throne by fighting until one of the contending princes surrenders. In one particular scene, our hero is fighting another tribal prince who challenged him for the throne. And it looked for a few nail-biting minutes that the rightful heir could be losing the battle. We see his head roll backward after a targeted punch to the face. As the camera zooms in through his perspective, we see his eyes focus on the queen, his mother. He sees her mouth move as she yells out to him, "Show him who you are." In that moment, the young hero remembers who he is, and his head snaps back up to continue the battle. Only now he is fighting like a king, like the king he is. He defeats the challenger and is able to take his rightful place as the king of the nation. I remember that scene. I think we can all probably remember that scene, and it's so powerful. When I was reading this the first time, I don't know why, but man, I got choked up reading it. It just did something to me. And I didn't understand it then. I really didn't. I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I getting so emotional? And most people know it doesn't take much for me to get emotional, and I, why are you crying? 'Cause I cry. I cry a lot. There we go. So we can cry together. Right, exactly. So anyways, it really wrecked me, and I didn't quite understand why. But as I was reading it, again, it dawned on me how beautiful it can be to be a mom, in which we have that ability. We have that ability to completely turn around a situation, just by speaking a word of encouragement into our children, into the lives of our children, into friends, and I mean, everybody has that ability, but I mean, it's just a powerful, powerful thing that we have as mothers, One word can change a situation. One word can just breathe life and just turn things around and just remind our children who they are, I mean, remind our children, and I love what she said here. It was kind of funny, but she says, okay, mothers comfort their children by reminding them of who they are. Sometimes that can be a challenge because it can seem we're daily faced with who they are not. Nevertheless, our assignment requires us to remind our sons and daughters of who they are. This is why we treasure the prophetic vision. This is why treasuring the prophetic vision is so important, and because I know that I have not always lived and walked in the way that, God had created me to be, and I mean, I still fall. I still, it's just less now. It's just, it's just a little less, or I get up a little quicker, or but so yes, there are times that our children aren't acting, in the way that we know God has created them, or mainly, I mean, when I think of it, I think of really, for me or for my kids, it was more of a believing in themselves, believing in everything that I knew that they were capable of, believing in everything that God had placed in them, and being confident in that. Now that they're older, like I said, I wasn't great at it when they were young. I just wasn't. But, I've grown and I've learned, and it's never too late. I mean, I truly believe that it's never too late, and I can do that now for them. I can continually do that, and remind them of who they are, remind them of that they don't have to be fearful. They don't have to, that they're able to do whatever they set, in their hearts to do. They're able to do whatever, God speaks to them. They're just, so anyways, and it's an amazing thing. I remember so often, well, my son Matthew went out to Redding, California, to Bethel, a couple years before my daughter did, and my daughter only spent a year out there. But it was the first time that she had been away from home, and her brother had persuaded her to go out there. And anyways, so, there were quite a few times that I would get a call from them, separately, and they would really be struggling, and it was my opportunity to remind them of who they were, and if they didn't, and just lend strength to them, and I remember it was just a really special time. It was such a difficult time. I mean, I told you, man, honestly, it was one of the most difficult times of my life. It was so, so difficult. But at the same time, times like that where I was able to speak to them and encourage them and remind them and just everything. I just remember so clearly feeling just blessed to be able to do that they, could call me and receive that from me and get that from me. And I don't know. I think that's why it hit me so hard when I was reading that. It's just an incredible ability that we have as mothers, and it's what we need to do. It's what we were called to do, to speak into our children until they come into their own, and yeah, it's an amazing thing. So, sorry. Does anybody have any examples that you recall? Maybe you did that for your child or somebody, or they in turn did that for you. I'll just give you guys a second to think about that. Sorry, I feel like I have something in my eye or my eyelash. But I mean, I think just Nancy asking me to do this. I mean, I told you guys, just knowing that she would trust me and to be able to do this spoke volumes to me. I mean, it comforted me. And in comforting me, it gave me the confidence to do it, along with knowing that God would be with me, So I don't know. I know that there's probably a zillion things that I just can't think of. But sorry, my eyeball is being irritated right now. And I know that there have been times when, I don't think it always has to be this huge thing, you know, this long, complicated thing. It can be as simple as a smile. You know, it can be as simple as a, you can do this. You've got this. I know you've got this. You may not believe that you've got this, but trust me, you've got this. It's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. You know, those few little words, can just encourage, and breathe life and strength. And it's a really neat ability, to do that. Um, yes. Yes. That's really good. Yeah, no, I love that. That's really good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah, that's, yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. It's amazing. And as we and it's important to, as we do grow and as we get older, and um there are going to be younger women, coming up underneath us, that we're going to have to um we're going to have to speak life into, and speak encouragement, and speak um you know blessing, and lending our strength, and everything. And um, and I think that it's good to be open to doing that. Be open um, to being that for somebody else. To being um, all around us. I mean, it can happen at work. It can happen. We can always lend our strength, you know, to individuals, you know, who are just, and unfortunately in this day and time, you know, when there's a lot of fear, you know, rampant, um, you know, it's definitely a time and an opportunity to lend strength, you know, and encouragement, and, you know, that it's going to be okay, you know. But anyways, can anybody else think of any other examples? Yes. Yes. Her heartache was your comfort too. Oh, dang, yeah, of course. Oh, darn. Oh. I chihuahua. Yeah. Right. Well, you know what they say about those strong-willed kids? Those strong-willed kids are mighty and powerful in the kingdom. You know, because you turn that strong will, you know, around for the Father, and it's a mighty powerful thing. So, yeah, I remember. Oh, this is kind of, but it made me think of it, and I try not to discount anything that pops in my mind. Um, for certain areas, because you never know if somebody needs to hear it. But anyways, um, as you were talking about it, I was thinking of my husband in the hospital, and man, when he woke up, it was not scary, but I mean, he was like, I want out of here. Like, he was like, you know, determined that he was leaving the hospital, you know, and stuff. And I remember the nurse saying to me, no, because I started to apologize for him because he was being kind of rude, he was being kind of belligerent, in a sense, And he's not like that. I mean, if it were coming out of me, that'd be more, But but he's not like that, He's just not like that. And but he was being like that, and I'm like, gosh, I'm so sorry. And she said, oh, don't apologize. She said, these are the kind that get out quick. And we want that. We want him to be ready to get out. So anyways, I think that a lot of times, I know for me especially, we see these strong-willed kids. I was a strong-willed kid. Me and my dad, boy, we clashed, but I am mighty and powerful for the kingdom. I am mighty and powerful for the kingdom. So I always think about that one, and I remind myself too, it's like God puts, puts these characteristics and traits in us. Sometimes they're not always used for the kingdom as we're growing up and as we're, and unfortunately, our parents get the brunt of that. They have to deal with it, and it's not always pleasant and easy to deal with. But well, so anyways, ladies, that's kind of all I got. I don't know if anybody else has, no, thank you. Oh, that was kind. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else has another example, but that is all I've got. I just want to make sure. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, Michelle. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I bet. Right. It's true. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And actually, as you were talking about that, saying that, I want to close with this because I thought it was so good. I thought it was very, very good, very good. All right. So, anyways, um, sorry, I just have to locate it. I know it was at the very, very end. Sorry. And she told a story about her daughter. Um, okay, I think I found it. Okay. Oh, oh, sorry. Um, Speaking truth. I mean, like you were doing for your son. All right. So I spoke the truth until I saw it manifested in her life. And today you would never know. She struggled with shyness, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into the whole thing because now we really are um, supposed to be done. So I'll just say this. Now we're supposed to be done, but I'll just say this. Darn diggity, I really, really wanted to say this, but I just can't find it. This is a powerful kind of comfort that mothers give. Mothers release comfort by persuading and awakening their charges to the reality of who they are. Um, there was one more thing to it that I thought was so good. Um, I'll just sum it up. She was talking about how, um, I mean, we're the whole point is we're raising world changers, right? And it takes a lot to be a world changer. I mean, it takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of boldness, and in raising these world changers, we have to continually be speaking into their lives, because like I said, like there are times in life where you get it, and then there are times when you're struggling and you just need to hear it, and you need somebody strong behind you, speaking. So we're never done. In other words, we're never done. We're never done. We're going to, continually speak into our children's lives, sometimes more than others, but it's because you're always wanting to pour strength into them and encourage them because it takes a lot to be a world changer. It really does. So I'll close with that. Thank you, Jesus.